What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets podcast. And in today's episode, I sit down with a really good friend of mine. His name is Michael with Kind Home Solutions. And one thing about this guy, man, growth. He has been able to achieve 5 million plus in sales this last year. And really, to give you guys the perspective, just a different perspective from that level of growth from somebody who has 21 employees is doing it. I thought it'd be really valuable to bring him on. So without further ado, I'm excited for you to jump in on this conversation as we dive into some of the details of what it's like to scale a business that high. And I'm sure he's not stopping there. So it's going to be a really exciting episode. The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right, they're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener, it's so much better, and that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets podcast. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Contractor Secrets podcast. I got my good friend, Michael Sutton, Kind Home Solutions, one of Colorado's up and coming, fastest growing house painting companies. One thing that I really want to touch on, dude. I mean, I think it was in the beginning when I first started this coaching thing, you reached out, I reached out, some way or another, we got in touch. And you said something that really inspired me. You said, my goal is to hit $5 million. I haven't had anybody talk to me like that, tell me such a high goal. And it really changed my perspective on what's possible, what's the mindset. Since that time, which is I think it was about 2.5 years ago. Yeah. Did you hit your goal? What happened? How did you do it if you did?
Yeah. It's interesting that we go back to that. And, 2.5 years ago.
Do you remember that? Do you remember saying that to me? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Okay. I definitely remember saying it. And, 2.5 years ago, we were just started. So I started my business in the spring of 2018. So we just finished our third season.
Yep. That was about 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago, yeah. Thought we would have hit that 5 million mark a little bit sooner. This year we did 5.3. So
amazing. 2 years.
2 years, 2.5 years, yeah.
Wow. So that is why I was really excited to bring you on here, because when I talked to you about coming on, I really hit on the idea that you would bring a different perspective. I think a lot of the people that I help see 1 million as this huge goal to accomplish. And for you, 1 million is almost like, that's just like not even like something that you would even consider. That's incomprehensible that you would only do 1 million in sales. And there's so many moving parts that get to that threshold. So your perspective on growth comes from a previous experience with a previous company where you literally had these really high numbers to hit. You had, thresholds, marks to hit. So how do you create a business that generates $5 million in revenue? Like, how do you even do that? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, it's about building that team. So it's all about having the right people in the right positions and knowing where they're going to be needed and where they're going to need to touch that client through the experience to take them from an inquiry to a painted home. So it's being able to really look at that process from start to finish, knowing who you're going to need. And then once you have those people, being able to feed them what they need to stay busy. And that's been, one of our challenges.
Do you ever get worried that you won't be able to keep everyone busy?
Of course.
Okay.
That's,
I just want to make sure.
It's one of the biggest.
Make sure you're human.
Yeah. No, it's terrifying. And every time that you add a new person or you're looking to sort of take that next step of growth, you're adding a couple $100,000 of revenue or 500 or $1 million of revenue.
Which comes with having to do more, get more leads, do more jobs. And spend more
You
money.
know, it's the spinning plates.
Yeah.
So for every person you need a certain amount of leads to feed. You know, one of the roles that we have is a scheduler. A
Right.
scheduler needs X amount of leads to stay busy and justify their expense.
Hey, real quick, I'm going to jump in here. When we were recording this, my wife had called and needed help with something with our baby, and that kind of pivoted our conversation. So that's why there's going to be a pause here, and then we're going to jump in and kind of pivot in that direction.
And I have so much respect for being able to raise your family and do that while you've done what you're doing right now. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Um, I built my business with the kids in mind. I wanted to
Yeah.
free myself. I always worked a lot of jobs. So I always knew that, like, I don't care about work, bro. I care about my family. I'd rather build my business around my family than my family around my business. If I
Yeah.
said that, you know what I mean? So
100%. I follow completely. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so you say that I had a little bit different of set of goals from what some of your other clients who you work with, and
yeah,
um, I think in reality, you and I and everyone else is looking for the same thing. It's
yeah,
that freedom to live the life that we want
right,
and to be able to nurture and to pour into the family and the friends and the network that we have.
right. Do you
How do we
feel?
create that?
Yeah. So let me ask you this, like, because I think that what you've created, like, are you able to be independent of this system the more that it grows? Or do you see it as, if I keep selling jobs, the more jobs I sell, the more people I hire, the more time I have to be here?
Yeah, the
'Cause
opposite.
I will be honest, $5 million scares the heck out of me,
Hmm.
terrifies me. I've never seen it. So I've never been in a business that does that much revenue. So I don't know that system. I would probably reach out to you to ask you how the heck to do it. And I'd have to learn the balance myself, because you know that I do a little under a million, not very big, two crews of four, one supervisor. I only have to deal with two customers at a time. I only have to worry about two jobs being done. And
Yeah.
I think of, okay, if I have another crew, that's four more painters I have to figure out how to put together on a team. That's more
Hmm.
responsibility for Chris, my supervisor. That's another color consultation that has to be figured out. That's different wants, desires, and needs. And I know that with what I do now in my role, that would put me in a little harder of a position. And you do that on a freaking way different scale.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing about 35 projects a week.
Jeez, dude.
So, but every time that you're looking at what are the responsibilities that fall on my plate?
Right.
And what can somebody do equally as well or better than myself?
Delegating.
Absolutely.
Got to.
And I'm not the best to do a
Yeah.
color consultation.
Yeah.
There's somebody far more qualified
Cool.
who loves it more than I.
Okay.
So I'm not worried about adding one more color consultation. I'm
Right.
worried about finding the color consultant who is phenomenal at what she does, who will resonate with our clients.
Casually gives a great experience. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as she sees eye to eye with me, with the customer experience and the attitude and the tone, and she treats people the same way that I want to be treated,
Yeah.
then she needs to be doing it.
Yeah.
Or
And
he.
you can't not treat people well in your business with the name of your company.
Yeah.
Because
Thank
if
you.
you're a jerk in Kind Home Solutions, like,
No
you gotta
jokes
go.
allowed. Yeah.
I think that's cool. And I think on the very basic level of your business, yeah, a great color consultation is a bonus.
Yeah.
Really, we're talking about project managers are probably the greatest thing in your business, people that you trust to go out there, boots on the ground, make sure the jobs are getting done the way they need to. What do you do to find a really good project manager? And on top of that question, at what threshold, like, what is one project manager responsible for in terms of, like, how many jobs does one project manager get? And when do you know you need to hire another one? Because that's usually a high expense. It's like a salary that you have to
Yeah.
configure. So when is it time to bring on another one? How many do you have? What are they responsible for? And how do you know when to bring on another one?
Yeah. Currently, we have 5 project managers. Um, their responsibilities is solely focused on the client experience, being a point of contact for the client from the week prior of the project to completion. And they're on, if there's anything back end, touch ups, loose things that need to be tied up, their responsibility is to make sure that client has a good experience and they get the finished product that they wanted. So they're there solely for customer service.
Do they do estimates too?
No.
Or so the customer doesn't meet the project manager until the project starts?
Correct.
Does the project manager do any preliminary communication with the customer?
Starts the week prior.
First week prior? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Just getting to know, meeting with them, getting their eyes on the project.
Okay. Project manager's not doing any work, right?
They're not painting.
They're not
They
painting.
don't pick up paint brushes.
Good. Yeah.
They're there just to make sure it goes the way it's supposed to.
So if you scale down your business, and this is just for the audience that listens to this, if you scale down your business to just like one, let's say you scrap everything, you got one project manager, right? His job is to literally just make sure that everything's going smooth on the job. And he's responsible for how many jobs? 3 to 4, or if there's 3, no, probably 8 or 10. 6 to 8 jobs. So so that's a lot. So that fills up his whole week, literally just stopping at jobs. Maybe he's supplementing the crews if he has to go to pick up paint or do anything like that. And you don't really even need to talk to the crews because you're just reaching out to the project managers. Mm-hmm. Love it. So you got the structure pretty much perfect. So I guess where I'm getting at in order to scale this down is that, like, for those of you listening, like, the project manager is where a lot of you guys should be as an owner who are still painting, right? So for you, it doesn't even make sense for your project manager to be painting. Your project manager needs to be managing the projects, which if he were painting, he couldn't have that view of all the projects. So that's really good. So you have three of those systems set up within your company.
And, more importantly than the project manager, if I had to scale it down and start over today and build from the ground up, my first hire would not be a project manager.
Hey, what would your first hire be?
It'd be a salesperson.
Love it. Interesting.
Someone has to feed the pot.
Right. Because you believe that it's harder to find a good salesperson than it is a good project manager.
I don't know if I could say that. Both are difficult. Finding the right people is hard.
That's really important. That's really important that you said that. And I think a lot of and I always say, if somebody's in the brush, I want them to find a project manager first to get them away from the painting, as opposed to, because that in itself is hard for a lot of people to do. To actually just remove, I think, on that level of scale, but you come in with the idea that I want to sell and I'll figure it out after I have the jobs.
Correct.
Great.
How hard is it? You've built a lot of ways around this, but how difficult is it to take a phone call when you've got your hands in the paint?
I just got off of a call with somebody who said that literally he just hates when the phone rings.
And if that's, a lot of painters who hate when the phone rings, you need someone to answer that phone.
Right.
And you can find that for cheap.
It can be automated. You can actually have your salesperson do it if you really want to.
Yes.
You could delegate that, sure.
And why would that salesperson not want to take that phone call?
Yeah.
So
tell me, let's dive into acquisition. So if you're doing 30 jobs in a week, that's, between 120 and 140 jobs in a month. Is that right?
Probably around there. Yeah. We have a short, for painting exteriors. I'm in Colorado, and the high is about 35 this week. There's no exterior work.
Right. So you got to transition everything to interior.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I think that's a major problem for a lot of people. What are you doing to make sure you have interior work during this time?
That's a tough one, especially in the world we live in now.
Yeah. Sure. It's even more difficult now.
The COVID world has been challenging for interior work. And there's been a lot of
questions. Let me guess, you actually rent the hotel for the customers to stay in.
No. Have you done that before?
No, I just, when this first started, I was like, hey, that would be a good idea. If you need to, just pay for it for 3 nights, let them stay there and we'll come in and paint.
Yeah. Or having an Airbnb for him to stay at,
There you
or,
go. There you
you
go.
know, no, I don't know. We haven't solved it.
Wow.
Working in people's homes, uh, Colorado was just in a red state,
Yeah.
red COVID state, highest level we could, second highest level. And we chose to stop doing interiors during that time. Uh, and we just went down to orange, our COVID level, and we're picking up our interiors again.
Wow. Yeah. And you, I mean, when I think I talked to you a while back, you were just cool, calm, and collected, really, from what I noticed about everything. You got 20 some employees. You have to hit a certain threshold of almost 100 jobs. Let's just say 100 jobs, dude. I mean, I do 250 jobs in a whole year. You're doing 250 jobs before I get out of bed. And, I mean, like, how do you even remain calm when you hear that on, just in the beginning stages, March, April, like you hear all this is going on. No, you do a lot of door knocking, you do a lot of
Yeah.
canvassing, which
Mhm.
when this first started, if someone came to my door, I'd get on the ring and be like, dude, you got to go. Cause you don't know what it is. I got the baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what the heck what was your thought? Did you sleep at night? What happened?
Yeah. I mean, it was terrifying
Yeah.
for myself and hundreds and thousands of other business owners. Walking
Yeah.
into the unknown mid-March
Yep.
was one of the most terrifying things I've experienced.
Wow.
Uh, we did choose to stop knocking and doing all canvassing when the thing kind of exploded. And luckily, we had a really good client base, a great referral network, and the support of our pre-existing clients really pulled us through.
Love it. Love it.
And that's something that comes with scale, is that the more people you work with, the more people can recommend you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's something we've seen grow over our 3 years.
So there was something we talked about last time we spoke, is that you learned something that you wouldn't have otherwise learned that you guys are capable of doing if it weren't for COVID. What was that?
I don't know.
I
Lots
think
of,
it had to do with the fact that you did a lot of in-person estimating and you transitioned to sending the quotes virtually for a little bit. Was
Mhm.
that it?
Yeah. I mean, that was a big part of it,
It
where
was a big part, because I
that,
remember you were huge about doing the quotes in person.
yeah.
Massive. Like that was your thing. And me too, but obviously we had to make that transition, and you doing that on a large scale. Did you notice a drop, or were you guys kind of close to the marks that you were hitting, even though you were sending the quotes virtually?
It actually went better.
Wow.
Uh, you know, we
I wonder
would
why.
talk closing table. You hear this
Yeah.
closing table. Let's sit down and talk about your quote.
Right.
Um, and it's an opportunity to really build value and make sure that we're all on the same page. And I thought it was such a critical part of the business, of that estimating
Right.
process. You had to sit down and talk for 30 minutes.
Right.
And turns out you don't.
Right.
A
And
digitally presented quote with a fair price and the online trust. It's what
yeah,
it,
online trust, you're coming in, because the reality of it is when you hit a certain threshold, and I experienced this too, and I know exactly what you mean, because we have the reputation, we have the most reviews, the most 5-star reviews. I know you do too. You guys are very present online. There's a lot of trust being built before you get to that table anyway. They know who they're dealing with when people request you.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I think my personal, I believed it was so important to sit down was because I didn't believe in the social support and trust that we actually had. I
Wow.
thought we had to sit down and convince them.
Yeah, I think you don't, when your head's down and you're grinding, and literally you're a newer company, two some years, when your head's down and you're just like bullnosing through, you're not looking up to see, hey, we've actually built ourselves a really nice reputation. I think that's the hustle in you, to not get up for air and be like, oh,
Mhm.
we can step back and start sending these things virtually. Now you were more like, I have to do this, so I guess this is what we're doing. And you actually were able to see that, because I don't think if COVID happened, you would have ever done this anyway. You would have just kept grinding, head down, knocking on doors. I would have called you like, yeah, I hit 100 million this year. I'd be like, great, man, you're insane, and then let's do a podcast on it.
Yeah.
um,
It-
um, but
it-
it's good though. It's good that you actually saw that perspective and you know where you stand, and you can pull all these people through this, which I'm sure they all appreciated. Everyone, even the employees, was scared. You pulled
Yeah.
them through it. And I think that that's going to build a lot of loyalty, which I'm sure it already has. Like, dude, Michael is a great leader and he got us through this.
Yeah.
And that's a
And
lot.
that
That's
that
deep.
belief from the team,
Yeah.
that's why I can sleep at night,
Yeah.
because I know when Miss Sally Johnson is concerned that the painters didn't remove all the plastic,
Yeah.
and she's concerned.
Right. There's concern there. And she texts you, and then you're like, great, you know.
Great. I can't use the bathroom because there's plastic over my toilet. How could you leave my bathroom like this?
Right. Right.
It happens. I know that my team cares enough about that client because I care about them enough.
Right.
Make sure
Yeah.
that they were okay this year.
Yeah. And that's important.
And we made sure that everyone kept their benefits, they kept their health insurance despite whether they were working.
So you're paying for health insurance for everybody?
Yes.
Fully covered.
Yeah. Um,
Amazing.
and that was, a tough decision that we had to experience last year. We did lay people off temporarily when, this thing spiked. And my payroll company and everyone said, well, you probably need to cancel their insurance policies. So I can't do that. So I
Yeah.
just paid them
Wow.
to make sure
That's a
that they
lot.
were insured. God forbid something bad happened to them in this whole process.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you took on that responsibility, and I'm a huge proponent of building the foundation, building the morale, building the loyalty,
Mhm.
teaching the people exactly, like showing them how valuable and how great it is to be a part of Kind Home Solutions. And then all of that just gives the customer a great experience. So maybe you're not physically there
Yeah,
treating the customer the way that you would, but because of the way you treat the employees, they
yeah,
do it on your behalf.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you have a stellar rating online. I mean, you're just like phenomenal there. I mean, and it's a good thing because that online reputation is just massive now. And you did
It,
it in 2 years, 2.5 years.
mhm.
Yeah.
We've been very blessed with clients.
Yeah.
We've had so many of our clients that have given us the opportunity to correct our mistakes.
Yeah.
Thank you. If something goes wrong, I'm not sure. Have you ever had a sprayer blow up on a roof?
I haven't had that happen yet.
Your
I
gun
haven't had that
clogs?
happen, but I really hope it was a metal roof.
No. It happened on 3 roofs in 1 week last summer.
Wow. So tell me, what I would like to know what the resolution for that is. How'd you fix that? Because if I get a little overspray on a roof, I'm freaking out. How did that happen? And did you have to replace a roof?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Your insurance covered it, right?
Uh, technically we didn't file a claim.
Okay.
Just fix the
All right.
roof.
Fix the roof. All
Uh,
right.
neighbor's house got painted for free
There you go.
because and those unforeseen things that happen when
Yeah.
you're painting that no one could expect.
Yeah.
Uh, a
But I
hose can,
like that about you. You're just the type of guy that says, we'll take care of it. We'll whatever it is, we'll take care of it. We'll move on to the next one.
yeah, you know,
Amnesia. It's like a quarterback who just throws an interception, but knows that he's a great quarterback
yeah,
and doesn't let the interception really mess up the team. Not only does he know he's a great quarterback, but he knows that if he spends so much time yelling at his receiver as to why he wasn't there to intercept it, he knows that's going to throw the receiver off for the rest of the game.
yeah,
So you as a business owner, you probably recognize that if I sit and harp on this and discipline these people, they can't have the confidence to go into the game and do what they're supposed to do on the next one because they're too worried about making a mistake or, whatever, right? Is that kind of how you operate?
100%. When especially with the client experience.
Unless it was malicious, unless he like literally just was like drunk and he sprayed the roof, then that's an issue.
That'd be a
Just
problem.
make it clear.
But to have your sprayer clog and
Yeah.
have the line bust,
Yeah.
there's, it's one of those unforeseen things. And our clients are just understanding.
Right.
And being able to make that phone call before we tried to fix it.
Yeah.
Say, I've got a weird situation, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. I just painted half your roof.
Yeah. Yeah. Weird situation. And just having to make that phone call, doing it timely, not trying to hide anything. says a lot. You can
Yeah.
forgive somebody when that happens, as long as you're willing to fix it, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It happens.
It's probably more surprising when you walk to the neighbor's house and say, "Hey, I just got a lot of paint on your home. I'm real sorry."
Because they're close. The houses are close, right?
Close. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Proximities. And that means that, they're not even, they didn't even know who you are, and you did that. So you paint the house for free to make up for it.
yes.
I love that, dude.
And
I
then you
think
get
that.
referrals from the house that you did for free.
So you blew up everyone's roof, but you turned it into a way to give and to make it a way better decision, instead of saying, "Yeah, we're just going to file the insurance on it. We'll get it fixed. Sorry about that." You said, "You know what? That shouldn't have happened. We're just going to knock out your house too, so you get a fresh paint job." That is
Do
the
you have any
coolest
friends?
story. If you're listening, pay attention to that mindset of just like not worrying about the money right away. Like, worry about the impact and then worry about the growth. Like, the money doesn't matter in the first 5 years of your business. Don't care, right?
No.
You don't
The
care about
money
the
will
money,
come.
right? Yeah, it'll come.
And, it's how much money does a person need to be happy?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah,
after like a certain amount, it's just like now you're just buying things, and it's like, you know, the impact is greater with the employees keeping their health insurance. Like, dude, you're like, probably a hero to a lot of them during that time. And with that many people, I mean, getting everybody to work in unison, it says a lot about your leadership skills, and it says a lot about how you treat your customers. And like, I'm making sure to hit on these things in this conversation because, the intangibles are what grow a phenomenal business. Yeah,
yeah.
everyone can paint, everyone can sell, but it's like, how do you make people feel, and how well do you go to bat for your team, your team members,
Mhm.
on a daily basis? Like, you essentially work for your team, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
the way I see my business is I'm here to make sure that these guys have work. I'm here to make sure that they don't have to worry about if they're going to get paid. That's
Mhm.
what I do, and I think that perspective
Yeah.
helps. Would you agree?
Yeah. You
So you
know,
come from a place where you don't, I mean, let me ask you this. Like, you don't just become a great leader in business. You come from a place where you weren't treated well.
no, 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 no. There's that. I've always had phenomenal coaching and incredible mentorship, and
So
it's
you didn't
something
have
that
to go through having somebody treat you poorly in business. You just wreck it. You don't need to touch fire to get burned. So, yeah,
I would rather the alchemist. I'd rather touch gold to make gold.
I love it. It's a great book.
You don't want to touch fire
Yeah.
to, and I've been really blessed with that. And I would say it's something that separates me from a lot of people at this point is I seek out that support and that coaching. I go to people who have been through what I've been going through now, and they've been there years ago, and they know what it's like to be 3 years in business because they've been in business for 30.
Yep.
That mentorship, that coaching, that leadership has really,
It's like a guiding light, right? Like, it
yeah,
really is. It's like, okay, they've been here, they are there. I'm here, I can get there.
yes,
Yeah. And
yeah,
that confidence is what gets you to push through and be like, because to me, like I said, you being at 5 million has inspired me. If I scale my business, do exactly what Mike's doing, I could get to 5 million,
yeah.
right? I mean,
And
it's a pretty cut and dry process. It's just a matter of being able to balance everything, right?
yeah, and you stop and you think about it. You've hit your vision, or you're at least living in some reality
Of
of the
what I
vision that
set my
you
sights
created.
on.
Yeah.
Right.
In the same way that, when we talked and we had slightly different visions of where we would be in 3 years, we're
Yeah.
both living those visions.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my, he's not a business partner, but a friend of mine who owns a small business. He builds websites
Okay.
and he does it by himself. And last night I said, "Are you ever going to have employees?" And the sound of his voice, it was like no
Yeah.
one had ever asked him that question.
Mm.
And he's like,
You
"No,
gave him a new
yeah,
perspective.
maybe,
Yeah.
no, I don't think I ever want to manage anyone." And it's like, where do you want your business to be? And that guy could have a 5-person web development agency tomorrow
Yeah.
if
Nail it.
he
Right.
has the
You'd
accounts.
see it. you see the growth, and you're trying to share your vision and help him adopt it in sense of growth. And like, I think that's great. It's just the confidence, right?
Yeah.
What is lacking here is the confidence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or the
And you're,
desire, or,
yeah,
sometimes you can't see it. You
yeah,
can't
true.
see what it would look like to run a painting company with 2 crews.
Right.
How could that work? There's only one of me.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
you got to think about it and see what it would look like here for it to start happening. Uh,
Yeah.
and I imagine you run into that where people don't have the vision. They don't see the freedom. They don't see how they can take 2 weeks off, still make money, and take their family on an important vacation.
Yeah. Well, the secret is to that is, I would say it's the people that you
Mhm.
have. And the that's why I really focus on the hiring process is getting the right people, because they are going to free you. But it really starts with what your goal is. I mean, I do help a lot of people that, and I really like helping the older guys that want to learn from me, not just because, and they're humble in a sense that like, oh, this young guy isn't going to teach me anything. But I see it as they're running out of time. Their hands are only going to be able to paint for so much longer. So the way I see it is, let me give you this perspective of what a painting business operates like when the owner isn't painting. And you would think, well, not you, I know you know what I mean, but the average person would think, well, duh, like, of course. But this isn't the only way that these people know how to make money. And the
Mhm.
idea of having someone else come in, probably like your web design guy, because his number one skill set and ability is probably building the websites. He's like,
Yeah.
there's no one I would trust to build a website to the standard of which I would do it. But I would tell a guy like that he should find somebody to help him sell the websites, because he's probably not 100%. He's better at making the website than he is selling. And then ultimately, what he could do is he could project manage the developers like you have. You have people project managing the painters
Mhm.
to the standard of which Mike wants it done.
Yes.
That's
It's,
it.
it's scalable and it's repeatable.
Yeah.
All of them are,
Scalable, repeatable.
you
All right.
know.
I have a question though. I really do. What is the like? So, what is the biggest challenge for you? I know that it sounds like, I know you got it down pat. You got it
No,
down pat. But
I
what
don't
is the
have it
challenge?
down pat. Far from it.
You come across very confident, and I think that's great. I just want to know, like, what's the challenge for you to like, if there's one challenge, like, man, like, this is a little difficult in this area. What is that for you for a $5 million company?
So the answer is probably a little cliche. And for those of you who have not read the book or don't know it, E-Myth Revisited.
Yeah, yeah,
How many have you read it?
I have.
How many
I have it
times?
right here, right over there, just once. I only needed
Just
to read it
once.
once.
Um,
But I'm not. I'm eager to hear this, because I'm not. I don't know if I'm ready for this, because I know kind of where you're going, but I wouldn't see this from you. But what is it?
it's the ability to work on your business and not in your business. And
Okay.
every day I get dragged into something,
Okay.
some urgency, this is the most important thing. The world is falling. If Michael, if you don't address this right now,
Because the buck stops with you.
yeah,
Is it because you're being called in by these guys because they aren't confident in them making the tough decision, or is it because there's no one else that you like? These decisions that come up are probably high priority. It's probably something pretty bad, not bad, but just only you would, they feel
it could even
confident.
be, this client's not answering and they haven't paid yet. What do I do with
Okay,
this lead? They want us to paint all of their hot water pipes in their basement.
gotcha. So these tough business owner questions.
And it's, a constant, and you get dragged into working in the business. Okay, now I've got a supervisor who's sick. I need to go produce. I have an estimator out. Let's go sell. I need you to go talk to this client because they saw this. And not having the time to pick my head up and focus on the company and actually working on developing our business. And I get stuck working in the business.
So let me ask you this, just a quick question, okay? Because we're talking
Yeah.
systems, and I think that I learn as much from you as I'm sure I can help you in a way from, I'm just an
Yes.
outsider perspective. I'm at a way smaller scale. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just asking. So in your business, the chain of command is you, and then you have the project managers, right?
Yeah.
Underneath you. And
Hmm.
then you have the subcontractors. May I ask,
Yeah.
why don't we have someone in charge of the project managers? Why hasn't that position been filled?
It's expensive.
Okay.
And there's those economies of scale at certain thresholds you can begin to justify certain.
Well, let me ask you this. Can we, just hypothetically speaking, I
Uh-huh.
don't know, just asking a question.
Yeah.
Can we limit the amount of project managers, take one away, okay, and create that supervisor role, give him half of the responsibility that he has with his project managers, and the other half of his responsibility would be overseeing the other guys? Is there one person that you feel like could assume that role that's already a project manager, or would you have to bring in someone externally?
No. I very much advocate that the work from within, promote from
Love
within,
that.
develop the team, and
Yeah.
create those career paths. And there are people in every position who are moving into that.
Yeah.
So every day I'm one step closer to not having to answer those questions.
Do you feel like that position that I'm talking about is going to assist with that in a sense, like
Yes, absolutely.
tremendously?
And the way it's spoken is, hey, if Eric's going to make a decision, I'm going to trust him fully to make the decision. And Eric is making that decision because I have told him I trust your decision and I'll stand behind it fully.
Right. I trust your
So,
decision making.
mhm. So
Yeah.
you don't need to call me. You can
Yeah.
call X, Y, or
Yeah.
Z.
And you have to set that standard in the company. Like, only come to Mike if it's a fire emergency or a paint sprayer blows up on the roof.
Yes. And you're like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, we buy some shingles.
So just again, hypothetically speaking, like,
Yeah.
so that role needs to be created, and I'm seeing it as you don't need to bring in anyone new. You could pay the guy a little bit more to take on that responsibility. You're not going to be able to fill his schedule completely, but maybe you can give him half of the responsibility he has now, oversee the other guys. I just want to know, do you have someone in mind that you feel like would be ready for a position like that in your
Yeah.
business?
And we have those people in every department
Love it.
who are
So
currently acting in that position.
yeah, it's great.
You do slightly less so that you can support someone else.
Because I would love to hear that in 2 more years or however long you decide that you're like, yeah, man. I mean, I just stop in, check to make sure everything's going well, and I'm writing my book on how I did it. And like that to me is an exciting thing, But it's just about the systems, the processes in place to make it happen. I get that for sure.
And looking at your life, you've done something incredible, Tanner. You run $1 million painting company, and how many painters and other painting businesses do you help on a daily
I
basis?
feel, I'm surprised. I get messages. I don't know, but I know that it's a lot, and I'm thankful for that. But that was my goal in the beginning. Like you said, it was vision. I
Yeah,
set my sights on it. I'm a family guy. I'm home. I don't have an office. I don't need an office. I don't go to jobs. I just check in with my supervisor, that role that I'm telling you about, who oversees the
yeah.
project managers on a much smaller scale. I get it. Big difference. But that's what I designed, and I created it. And that fits me.
You're able to do those two things:
Yeah.
run a painting company and
Help painters.
helping hundreds of other painters
Yeah.
improve their business.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't
Coaching,
know it would turn into that. I honestly didn't.
yeah.
I actually thought, honestly, when I first, said, I'm going to put myself out there, give some advice. I thought I was going to help people start painting businesses. That's why I don't know if you remember, it was painting startup. That was
Yeah,
my first little gig that I tried to do. And as I got connected with people and I started helping people, I'm like, man, I feel like I could actually impact the actual people that already have painting businesses a lot more than people just starting.
yeah.
So that was pretty cool, that transition there. And I've grown so much from helping people. Like if you listen to some of my stuff way back, I've grown a lot more, even just connecting with you, having that. I always thought about that. I'm like, this guy's trying to hit 5 million And I'm thinking, how the heck is he doing? That's why I always kind of peg you for how many guys, and even this conversation I'm learning. So it's mutually beneficial, you know. I am, you know, and it holds me to a high standard in my own business, because I'm not the type of person that's gonna preach stuff I don't practice. So if I tell you guys out there to do a hiring process, and I sit there and just tell someone that they can start tomorrow, I'm not speaking my truth. So it holds me accountable, and I do like that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't tell people to do stuff you don't do.
No. And then that's you know, from anyone in that industry, if you're a painter and you're teaching someone to paint the same way you do,
Yep.
you gotta show them and be willing to do it to the standard that you want it done.
Same thing for you. Like the management aspect of your business, which is your strength, you're showing your project managers the way that it needs to be done, and they're holding that standard accountable because they know that that's the standard that you would do if you were the project manager.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I bet you're, you know, like it's kind of like, are you showing up on time at the office every day? And it's like, if you're not you as the business owner, at this point, you could probably come in a little later, but you have to set that standard early, to make sure that everyone knows, like, hey, that's a whole different dynamic, dude. You have an office with people working in it. So not only do you got to manage the actual project management, like you have to manage the office dynamic too, right?
Yeah, and that's interesting with COVID.
Yeah.
Because we don't have as much of the office.
Yeah.
Everyone's remote,
You guys have a shop attached to your office?
No,
Okay. I was curious about that. I didn't know. Yeah. Cause I know that you do your cabinets on site, right?
we do cabinets on site.
Yeah.
So we'll create a spray booth somewhere in the home, basement, garage, kitchen, wherever is convenient based on scope of work at that project. Now, you talk about those 2-year, 3-year goals. Yes, I would love shop and warehouse space.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you could recycle a lot of the paint, too. The
That's
white paint. Well, the white paint.
the white paint. Yeah.
The reusable white stuff. The primers and the paint.
Do you have warehouse?
No.
Do you have a
2
shop?
vans. Nope.
2 vans.
2 vans. 2 vans. Simple.
Even parking vans, that's not easy.
I let them take it home.
Okay.
Yeah, I let them take it home. They're on the insurance policy. They drive to work. I give them gas every week for it. They have to maintenance it, clean it, inventory.
Okay.
Pretty simple. I mean, just let them take it home. I thought early on I need an office. I don't need an office. This is my office. I'm working from home, and it would be senseless to have these guys wake up every morning, drive to me, and then go to the job. Back in the day, they used to do that because that's how people used to clock in. They actually had to punch the clock at the office. And most companies didn't want them taking the vans home. So, we're in 2021. Clock in when you get to the job. I'll see it on the GPS. Yeah. I could track the mileage on the van. I could see where that's at. So I keep it slim.
I imagine the day you purchased that first van was a big day.
It was a huge day because I had trailers. I thought I probably told you that. I used to do trailers. That was a pain. Coordinating, can I leave the trailer here? We got an HOA that doesn't allow the trailer to stay overnight. I had to make sure whoever was driving had a pickup truck with a ball hitch on it.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't drink. Okay, where's does anyone know where the trailer is? And dude, when I bought that van, man, making the investment, $4,000 or $5,000 or whatever, it was awesome. It really was. And we put nice racks in it, and I don't even think about it anymore. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, that's I can't wait for that day. It's
What
one
do you
of
mean you don't have vans?
No, I don't have any vans.
How do you bring the materials to the job?
So we do have slightly different models. We do subcontract out the majority of our painting.
Yeah.
And
So
painters
they have vans.
they have their own van.
Okay.
Van or truck.
Van or truck.
Project managers who are mainly just transporting paint, sundries, they use their own vehicles at this time.
So I know that you mentioned to me not too long ago that you were potentially thinking about putting together an employee team.
Yeah. Considering.
But that would be nice to see a wrapped van, Kind Home Solutions on it.
It'd be incredibly cool.
Yeah.
And that's an area that I don't have experience, is how to train a painter. It's incredible to think of being able to hire a painter with no painting experience and get them to be a good painter. Uh,
Well, I would come at it from the position of you do need someone with experience, but you have to make like when you're hiring that position, I would hire somebody that knows how to paint that wants to be an employee, which there's plenty of people out there that do for stability. I would see just for your sake of testing this out, like for me, I would look at it like my employee model is a totally different business. And I'm
yeah,
going to start this business with one person that knows how to paint that wants to be an employee and work for an hourly wage and be a project manager within the project. Then it's his job to coach up and teach the guys that you bring in from there. But I don't think I would start with somebody that doesn't have any experience.
so your first painter that you hired, how much experience did he have?
When I started my business, I was the best painter on the crew, which doesn't say much.
Oh
Okay.
man.
It
Okay.
doesn't. But the reason why that happened is because I brought on two independent contractors that were just people that didn't want to be employees that knew how to paint. They knew how to paint. Okay. And after about a month, I let them go and they were trying to sell their own work. They were just not, and they weren't legit, dude. And I'm like, I can't run a business like this. But one time they brought a helper and I liked this guy. And I reached out to him. I said, hey man, look, I'm trying to transition to employees. Right now, it'll just be me and you, and I'll pay you this much per hour. So we painted a job. I liked him because he was a people person. He wasn't the best painter, but he was a people person. I knew that I could trust him on the job to communicate with customers.
Yeah.
So from there, I found someone else to put under him. So it was me, that guy, and the new person. The new person had no painting experience. This guy did. He could cut a straight line. That was all I was looking for. And
Yeah.
then I hired another person. So now I have these three guys under me. I would do all the spraying. These guys would, do the prep and painting and stuff. After the spraying was done, I would go do estimates and leave them on the job. Now at this point, we're operating and I'm like, okay, I need to get somebody that knows how to spray. So that's what I looked for. And I found Louis, who's now my project manager. He's been with me for years. And he came in and brought this whole different dynamic of skill. I pay him very well to just be an employee at that point in time. And he was with the crew. So even though he was the best painter, he wasn't the manager. The guy that I brought on first was. And that's
Okay.
how I built my team before. And they were
Yeah.
employees, hourly wage, and we were knocking out jobs left and right. And that was it. Pretty simple.
Is Louis still spraying houses for you?
Yeah, he does all the fine. He does all the work. So like all the detail work still. I mean, he's phenomenal. But I've since grown, and now I can attract talent that supplements him. So
Yeah.
I have other guys that know how to spray, and this was just in the incubator phase where I didn't really have a brand. I didn't know much. I didn't really know how to find people. So I was like, let me start with this. But I knew that I needed somebody that knew the dynamics of a house painting job. Like you got to know what needs to be done in what order. So,
Mhm.
that was me. And I looked for that role when I was hiring that role. So when I plugged him in, it was like I was replacing myself. And then
Yeah.
all I did was estimates. We just had one crew and I did estimates for like a year and just found them jobs. We would just do one job a day or
Oh,
however long that job took. Sometimes it was one job a week if it was a 5-day job. And then I expanded to two. And I know that if I just duplicated that process, I could do 3, 4, whatever. And it would require more overhead two project managers for how it is, but that's
yeah.
that's how I did it. But that 4-man crew was my sweet spot. So I would think of it as like this, the subcontractors that you're paying to do this work have already figured that out. They have their 4, and
Hmm.
it's just a matter of you getting your own 4, you
Yeah.
know
And you hired that first one based off his personality. He was a people.
100%. Because I wanted somebody to be able to talk to my customers the way, like you said, the standard of
Mhm.
which that I would be the standard of which he does. And I instilled that in him as I was on the job, making sure that he knew, hey, this is how I communicate with them. This is what you need to do. Let her know that, just an example, let her know that we're going to be doing the master bedroom first so we can knock out the rest of the house and they can have a place to hang out. I know you've done that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's the mentality that you want to instill in this person. So, you know, um,
When do you
from
hire your first sales or have you hired a salesperson now?
I did. did twice. I tried to go the salesperson route. In my business, the margins didn't make sense for a 10% commission, 7 to 10% commission. It didn't. I mean, ultimately, I was doing automated follow-ups. I was generating the leads. And if they didn't close the deal, I was the one closing it. So essentially, I would close the deal and be like, dude, I just made this guy $400, and ultimately, I didn't see the value for two crews. So I created this system where Chris, my supervisor, who just manages the two jobs, he goes and does the estimates. So he takes pictures of the jobs, uploads them for me, takes measurements, asks my questions that I want the customer to answer. What's the story? When do you want it done? Have you chosen colors? My big three questions. He builds rapport. He's a very nice guy. So he's really always just building rapport. And he's our project manager, which gives the customer a little bit more when he shows up when the job starts. So, oh, it's Chris. Chris sat with me. So we have that dynamic there. And I just shoot the pricing from the office. So once I have all that, I just look at it, tally up the pricing, send the quote. Now, I don't just send the quote. I always call, hey, how did Chris do? I know he did great, but I want to get to know them as well. So I'm actually utilizing my strength, which is that post price is where I shine in my business. So I just do that whenever an estimate comes in. 10, 15 minutes. Hey, I'm getting ready to send your quote. I just want to make sure Chris did a good job. Did he answer all your questions? Awesome. He said that you just wanted soffits, fascia, gutters, and the walls done. And then I come in with the close, from there.
Okay.
So no salesperson, estimator.
No real estimator there,
No,
but
well, no
you're no
closer.
longer in front of the client.
With that,
You're no longer in front of the client.
I'm no longer in front of the client, but we are sending a representative to do what I would be doing, everything but the pricing, which a lot of people do anyway. They don't give quotes on the spot. So it doesn't, for all they know, if I didn't call them, they would think Chris is sending it.
Now, when you first started, you did present a quote on the spot.
Absolutely.
How did that experience go?
COVID.
That switch.
COVID, 100%. I would have never thought that I could keep my volume with sending quotes online the way that I have. But I did notice in the beginning, well, because I had a baby and she was only like 4 or 5 months at that time, so I wasn't going to go if I could avoid it. I didn't know what was going on, and my wife was freaking. We were all just like, everybody was like, "What is this thing?" Right? And we got a baby, so I'm like, "How am I going to do that? How am I going to sell jobs?" So I'm like, I just did everything virtually for the first 2 months. Virtual quotes. I put it all over Facebook, dude. I got so many people that were interested in that, and I realized that there were other people out there in the market that didn't care about COVID and were just going to the house, and people weren't caring either. So we were actually at a deficit.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how can we still do this? Well, how about I just send Chris to go measure? He can at least meet them, see somebody, and I'll send the quote from the office. How about that? Let's try that. Because I didn't have the ability to find a salesperson that knew how to sell. So I had Chris and I trusted Chris to go do it. And that's what happened. And we just kept doing it, never stopped. And it's been great. Now I'll never change it because he makes an hourly wage to manage the jobs and do estimates. I got him a car. He has his own car. He doesn't have to worry about it. Done.
You got him a car.
Bought him a car. Yeah.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, he gets a car and he's not painting anymore. He loves it. He's phenomenal. He's the best employee. Dude. He's my trusted person, man. He's my guy that I don't even. He's what allows me to sit in front of this camera and hang out and help people and be with my family, dude. So anything I could do to help him, got a car. He's probably got 4 raises already. I value that stuff, man.
Yeah.
I do. It's like the most important thing.
And it sounds like he really brought you a lot of freedom from the business.
Dude, he's like the best. I'm blessed. Like you said, that's the word. I don't really, but that is a reciprocation of how much I value people, dude. Like, I attracted that type of person into my business.
Yeah.
And because of that, and everybody understood in the beginning, I was a little weary because I had the baby. So everybody was like, but they knew that I would find them work. I was in this freaking office making more calls during that time than I ever have. Like I was not going to let this ship sink that I built for, 4 years, just like you.
Yeah. What do you think, the number one challenge that the people you work with are facing? What's their biggest hurdle?
In terms of my employees? Or my customers?
Your other business, helping other
dude, it's hiring. I mean, the more I do these business breakthroughs, It's like I always look for that one thing. Like my big question when I do them is like, what's going really well and what's not? And what's not is more often, way more than not, is like just getting good quality people in their business. And it's like all I got to do is see. And I ask this question a lot, like, tell me right now, if I said, find an employee right now, what would you do? And when they tell me what they would do, I know the problem right off the bat. One guy said he would go to Home Depot. The other guy said he would call his friends to see if they knew anybody. Like the power is in the process. So
Yeah.
from there, I dial in and help them discover a process on how you filter out applicants. And that's something that does not come natural to people. That's been my focus by default. I mean, I can't even get to sales. I can't even get to marketing. I can't even get to admin until we address how to recruit people into your business. Good people. That's
Yeah.
that's the problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Uh, and that's one of the you've done a really good job of making that more tangible for people.
You got to
For me,
package it up and make it easy.
yeah, because it is a difficult thing. It is
Difficult.
hard to tell that. Why do people choose to work in certain places? What are you bringing to their lives to improve it? And you do have to really think about it from your employee's perspective.
Yeah.
What?
Well, there's a lot of fear though attached to that because a lot of the limiting belief is like, okay, well, if I bring people on, what if I can't keep them busy? And I want to be like, dude, the motivation, you know this, the motivation you get when you bring someone else on, you won't experience that until you do it. But you know that it channels a different motivation because you're like, I hired this guy, I got to keep him busy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, that's just, but you don't know that until you put yourself out there and bring on two people, even though you have 1 week of work and you're like, you know, well, I would say this, if you have the money, say to yourself, you know what? If I don't have a week of work, I'm going to pay them for that week. And that's on me. I'm going to take that penalty. You know,
That'd be so scary.
it would be scary, but
It
guess
is.
what? You freaking do it unless you want to give away money for nothing because, I bet you'd learn then.
Yeah, very true.
But the employees are the foundation of the business, dude. They really are.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, with Chris, I couldn't do this without him. I couldn't, I mean, that's just a good person that takes pride in his work, that is trustworthy. Everything that I ask him to do, he does to the standard of which I would do it. That's the secret. It's the people. So if the secret is the people, the hiring is what's going to get you there.
And I'll disclose my first hire was my now wife.
Love it.
She ran all of the phones. So
Okay.
anytime that someone called our company
Okay.
for 6 months, it was her who answered.
Yeah. It's
She
great.
handled every inbound phone call. She handled every outbound phone call.
Yeah. I can tell she's dialed in. When I met her, she's dialed in. She's a great asset to your company for sure.
And that was, when you talk about this right hand, I couldn't do this without it.
Yeah.
There was no way we could have started or scaled past that first year
Love it.
without her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she just handled all of those phone calls.
But I will say though that is your person too at the same time. So when you free yourself, you want to free her too, you know. So
It,
you
it makes it a little bit more complicated that she
that's
has.
where I'm saying, it makes it a little bit, but I know what you mean, man. That's awesome. I love it. I
Yeah.
think it's great when a married couple can work together and make it happen, dude. It's awesome.
God bless those who try. And
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably the hardest thing that I've done was actually working with my wife in this. But whether it was my wife or not, I needed that person
Yeah.
to run the communication with our client.
Love it.
And looking at scaling, that was a full-time role long before we had enough work to justify that person. I knew I could never get the work without that person.
Yeah. It's great.
So
Prosperity is coming your way. But I'm excited, dude. I really would love to hear some feedback on if you decide to build this little team of employees, which I'll be honest, man, there is a chance that you fall in love with this employee model and you transition things. It may be a little more favorable marginally. Could potentially free you if you get it to the point that you want it. It might give you a better opportunity to be free than it would the other way. What do you think?
we'll see. Only time will tell.
Yeah, only time will tell, man.
At
We're
this
definitely
point,
gonna have to. We're definitely gonna have to jump back on one of these, man. This was good.
yeah, at this point, I just put the client first, put our team first, and
Yeah.
everything else will pull itself. So
Awesome, man. Well, I'm going to close this out, man. Your perspective is going to reach a bunch of people, and I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes, including mine. That's why I love doing these, regardless of whether or not it's my podcast. I learn just as much as I try to teach. Thank you, dude. Appreciate you.
yeah, Tanner, thank you. You're the man. It was
And
wonderful talking.
Kind Home Solutions on Instagram. Straight, just one word, Kind Home Solutions at Kind Home Solutions.
Kind Home Solutions, one word on Instagram, Facebook, kindhomesolutions.com. Yeah.
So if you're looking to scale your business to the moon, hit up Mike.
My contact information is on our website. I'm connected to the Instagram and Facebook, so any messages that come through,
Please do hit him up. He's a cool guy.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Ken, have a great day.
Hey, I just want to take a second to thank you for joining me here on the Contractor Secrets podcast. I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know that my passion is coaching people, helping people. I've changed my Instagram name to @contractorcoach. And I did that because that is my passion. I want to help you. So please reach out to me. If you have an issue going on in your business, send me an email, find me on Instagram, message me, and let's do a breakthrough session. I want to work through your problems in your business to help you get to that next level. And one thing that I always say is this, the difference between those that get over the humps and the hurdles in business is just a change in perspective. And that's what I plan to offer you. So get with me, message me, allow me to help you take your business to the next level.